like between the two cameras?
My name is Stallworth. I am the Black Klansman and retired Colorado Springs. I'm a retired Utah Department of Public Safety officer, and Black Klansman is my story.
Sir, can you give us an overview of what Black Klansman is? I mean, we know it's you, but what happened back then?
Well, I was an intelligence detective with the Colorado Springs Police Department, and I was looking through the newspapers one day, classified, and I saw an ad. The ad said Ku Klux Klan for information, contact, and there was a P.O. box. So I wrote a note to the P.O. box using the language of hate that these people communicate in, identifying myself as a white supremacist. I mistakenly signed my real name. Not mistakenly, I had a brain cramp that day. And I attached the undercover phone line. It was an untraceable line in our office at the time. And I mailed it off, forgot about it. About a week or two later, I get a phone call from the local Klan organizer wanting to know why I wanted to join the Klan. And I reiterated what I wrote in the note, and then I spiced it up a little bit and told him my sister was dating an N-word person, and every time he puts his filthy black hands on her pure white body, it makes me cringe. I want to join the Klan to stop the abuse of the white race. He said, "You're just the kind of guy we're looking for." And with that, my investigation was launched.
With everything that you did, what do you want people to take away from it now in 2018?
I'd like people to take away from this movie and from reading my book the fact that groups like the Klan are not homogenous. They are, they go by different names. It could be the Klan, it could be skinheads, it could be neo-Nazis, it could be alt-right. Whatever iteration they come in, they are all one and the same. The parts are interchangeable. The ideological notion of supremacy based on race and skin color, genetics, is always there with these groups. And basically, the public should not sleep on these groups. They exist, they're all around us. It could be your next door neighbors. Don't sleep on them. When they rear their ugly heads and come out from the shadows, we need to push them back in. When they try to vent their racist hatred, as they did in Charlottesville, we need to stamp them out. But we cannot live in fear of these groups. We should not live in fear of them.
Mr. Stallworth, my friend and I teach high school English, and part of our job is to navigate our students through our current political climate and Trump's America. If you have a message for our youth of today, what would it be?
My message for the youth of today is to get involved. Change the system from within if you can. If you cannot change the system from within, do what the late Frederick Douglass said back on his deathbed. He reportedly said when he was asked by one of his followers, what should we do when you're no longer here? Reportedly, his reply was, agitate, agitate, agitate. So to the youth of today, change the system from within if you can. If not, then agitate the hell out of the system in order to effect the change necessary to make this a better world.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Stallworth, a lot of your fans and followers from El Paso are super excited about your story. Can you talk about what some of the influences here, how they shaped you moving forward? How they affected you?
Well, I grew up in El Paso in the 60s and 70s. El Paso, to me, has always been a fairly liberal southern city and a southern state. We did not, during my time growing up here, we did not experience the hot activities of the civil rights movement that we were seeing on TV. The water hoses turned on people down in Birmingham, Alabama with Bull Connor. The riots that were going on when the American cities were burning. We did not experience any of that. To us, that was a reality show on the evening news. We were very fortunate in that regard because we were sort of insulated from it. But we were always aware of what was happening in other parts of the country. El Paso was good. Our diverse community of whites, Mexicans, blacks, you name it. We all interacted with one another very well. There were problems like anything else. I was called the so-called N-word 3 times growing up up here. I got into fights as a result. I got kicked out of school 3 times. My mama, and I tell this story in my book, my mama, when I told her I was out of school and why, she didn't chastise me for fighting or getting kicked out of school. The first thing and the only thing she said was, did you whip his ass? I lied on 2 occasions and said yes, when in reality it wasn't that way. But the point is, we were taught to make people respect us. We are black people. Back then we were called Negroes, some were called colored. The term Afro-American was just coming into fore as a result of Malcolm X and his ministry. So we were taught to make people respect who we were as a people. And if they weren't going to respect us for our blackness, my mothers taught me and my brothers to grab a brick if they were bigger than us and knock them upside the head. But they will respect you in the end. I do know this. The 3 times I got kicked out of school, the 3 fights I got into, they never called me the N-word again.
Thank you. Sir, you mentioned Charlottesville. Tomorrow, protests are happening around the country, mainly Charlottesville and D.C. Are you expecting anything similar to what happened last year, or are you expecting civility in an uncivil situation?
I expect it'll be better controlled. The law enforcement community has had a year to activate, to organize, to formulate a plan, which they didn't do last year. I imagine it'll be better controlled if the Klan group tries to get out of hand. I imagine that law enforcement will keep them in line, in a very strict line, and we won't see anything like that. I do know this. I wouldn't be surprised if the counter-protesters, the nonviolent counter-protesting groups that show up, if they weren't prepared more or less to do battle because of what happened last year. I don't anticipate it getting out of hand like it did last year. I really don't.
Sir, last question from my part. I saw the movie and director Spike Lee does not shy away from the parallels of what's happening right now.
You picked that up, did you?
Mostly towards the end. I mean, to see those scenes, to see people saying the same phrases, America First, chanting those anti-Semitic chants, I mean, you think that the lesson has been lost through time, or is it just cyclical where people forget their history and it happens again?
It may have been lost in time a little, but if you stop and recall, during the campaign, President Obama was telling us that Donald Trump was not deserving of the office, that Donald Trump was not capable of handling the office, that Donald Trump, I don't recall if he used the term bigot, but he implied that there were issues with Donald Trump. He laid it out all for us to see, but America did not want to see what the president was saying, what President Obama was saying. America First dates back to around the turn of the century when the Klan had its re-emergence. Okay, there is a famous photograph of over 30,000 marchers, Klansmen and women, dressed in their robes, marching down Pennsylvania Avenue, holding a sign that said "America First." Now, this was taken somewhere around 1919, 1920, somewhere around there. Charles Lindbergh, during the build-up to World War II, Charles Lindbergh was using the America First slogan to try to keep America out, and he was in support of Nazi Germany. Okay? Now we have Donald Trump, who has resurrected America First as one of his slogans. Also, he has Make America Great Again, which is nothing but a code word for Make America White Again. We are not going back to the time when we as black people had to be submissive and subservient to whites. Those days are over with. It would never happen again. I don't care how much they try to make America great again. So people need to recognize that history repeats itself, and if you don't pay attention to some of the people who are warning you against this backlash, it's going to crop up again, and we're going to be stuck with people like this racist, homophobic, Islamophobic, bigoted, idiot imbecile that occupies the White House right now.
Everyone good?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you want to get Spanish?